Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show. Man, it has just been back-to-back amazing individuals coming on the RNG radio show. My next guest actually works in advertising and marketing most of his life and actually still does, along with his son at Rose and Rose Associates, to give you a hint as far as who my guest is. Him and his wife had co-authored two cookbooks, Cooking Together Chinese Style and Cooking Together Quick and Easy. They also had hosted a cooking segment on the local Fox TV affiliated for 13 years. During that time, they toured the Midwest teaching cooking classes. Sadly, though, after his wife's death, my guest, with the help of his son, authored a third cookbook. And there's actually another one we're going to be talking about later today. But the third cookbook, Cooking Together Revisited, which is dedicated, of course, to his wife, Joyce, with the proceeds going to the family's breast cancer support projects. Right now, my guest, along with his family, produce a YouTube cooking show, Cooking Together Generations, to help promote their breast cancer support projects, which you can find more about at www.cookingtogether.com. But ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the one, the only, Mr. Tom Rose. Tom, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm the one and only. That's great. I love that introduction. Haven't had that one yet.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen.
Usually I get.
It might be a common name, but everybody is unique in their own way, and there's not another Tom Rose that's doing what you're doing. I know that we had a prior conversation as far as you getting on and your journey, man. A lot of people fail. They honestly fail, or they're stuck in the direction, after a loss as far as where they were headed, and everything may have been written out for them, but you as you put in the book, you're doing things different. So before we hop into that, Tom, just lay out the story. Tell us about your story, how you got started with everything, with the wife, and where you're currently at right now.
Well, yeah. This is a 3-hour episode, okay? No, real quickly. My wife and I had a great relationship. Married almost 58 years. We missed it by a week. She had breast cancer in 2004, 2005 with mastectomies. And after that, she was cancer-free until 2017. So we had 13 years in there when we did a lot of things and enjoyed a lot. We stopped doing the cooking show in 2004 when we found out she had breast cancer. So anyway, but in 2017 came back in the chest wall, and doctors said she had 4 to 6 months, and of course, the strong lady she was, she lived for 2 years. I lost her in August of 2019. Got to be honest with you, Robert. It was a tough time. The next 3 months of my life were a mess. Okay, I describe it to people as when she passed away, when she died, the color in my life went away. So I was living in black and white. Mm-hmm. And I struggled through those 2 months. And finally one night here, it was cold November, early November evening, raining. I'm by myself. I'm sitting at the counter having my dinner. And things started to get to me. I mean, really get to me. And I ended up sitting on the couch. I remember crying, and just everything just finally came out. Yeah. And I got this feeling like I got to do something. I can't do this. And her favorite saying was, "It is what it is. Put on your big boy pants and deal with it." That's what she always used to tell me when I'd have a problem. I'd say something. Yeah. So I thought that's what she'd want me to do. So I finally struggled around that night and got into bed, and I'm thinking the next morning when I got up, they'll go be miserable. But I got up the next morning and there was color. I could see things again. I enjoyed looking out the window. And I guess I was on my path to dealing with grief. It's never going to go away. So you have to live with it. Right. So that's what I was learning to do. So that's where we were. But then my son and we got together and we did the cookbook you just talked about, Cooking Together Revisited. And about a year later, a friend of mine called me from Florida, talked to me. Hadn't talked to him for a number of years, fraternity brother, a doctor. And he said, someone suggested to me if you write a journal, it would help you. And I thought, well, I can do that. Though we're working on the cookbook, so I might as well, I'm in the computer. I'll open up a word file. Every morning I got up and wrote down how I felt, went to bed at night, wrote down what happened during the day. And about 3 months after that, 4 months, maybe 6, I think about almost like 6 months, he called and said, "How you doing with the journal?" And I said, "Well, okay." So how's the cookbook? I said, "We're just about to finish it." He said, "Well," he said, "send me your notes, your journal." I did. About a week later, he called me back and he says, "You got to write a book." I said, "Doc, I don't write books." He said, "You wrote cookbooks." I said, "Well, they're easy. You decide you put this recipe in or you don't put it in, you know."
Yeah.
So uh, I said, "Well, okay. Well, it's COVID year now. It's 2020, okay, and it's COVID, and you're home. You can't do anything, you know, and it's winter. So what the heck? I'll try a book, right?" So I started writing. When I first started writing, I thought, I'm going to be a real pro here. So I'd write a sentence that I get the thesaurus and look for big words to put in.
Right.
And then I'd write a page and then I'd throw it away. Yeah, because this wasn't me. Finally, it took me about a month. I finally decided, hey, dummy, write it like you. You're a simple person. Write a simple book. So that's what I did. And I just wrote my story. And once I started, it just came. It just flowed out. Uh, someone had told me one time that grief is like a ball in a box. It bounces around, and when it touches the side, you feel emotions. Touches a corner, you get 3 or 4 things going on at once. And I said, no, no, no. You know what? It's more like a balloon in a box. You got a balloon on a string. It's hard to control. I mean, you're big to move the string to the right, but the balloon wants to go to the left. So that's what I've learned to do. That's what grief is. Grief's that balloon, and it's floating around in there, and you got to get control of it. It's not going to go away, because that balloon holds all your memories. So you want to keep that balloon, but you want to control it so that it touches things easily and so you can handle them. So that's my whole premise with the balloon in a box is the name of the book, and it's Balloon in a Box, Coping with Grief. So it's my grief journey and my thoughts about you can't fix it, Robert. You can't fix grief. You can help people. The biggest thing you can do with it is somebody wrote, and I use it in the book. The griever needs to find the words, to say the words, and know the words have been heard. That's what that book did for me. I found the words, I said the words, and I know they've been heard. If I helped one person, I said that in the book, and if I helped one person other than me, then the book's a success. And quite honestly, I caught lightning in a bottle, because here I am talking to the famous Robert Nathaniel in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, Daniel Umstead. Robert Nathaniel is actually the name of the company, but yeah, Daniel Umstead is me.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so all of a sudden people are calling me. I thought I'd print a couple hundred books, give some away, sell some, and all of a sudden people are calling me for radio shows, for TV things, to make appearances and speak. And so at 82 years old, I'm on a new career, and I've joined. I heard somebody the other day said, "Well, Julia Childs wrote a cookbook at 87. William Shatner just went into space at the age of 90, and people like that doing things." So I thought, wait a minute, I'm just 82. I'm still a youngster compared to those two things. So I got a new career. I'm giving nice speaking engagements, and it's fun meeting people and hearing their stories. I get people calling me, asking me to, talk about their grief. Interesting call the other day. I answered the phone. It was a young man, and he said, "Mr. Rose, I just read your book." And I said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "No, you don't understand." He said, "My mother had your book because my father passed away, and somebody gave it to her to read." And he said, "I'm a senior in college. I'll be this fall." This was back in August. He said, "This fall, I'll be a senior in college. I have a serious relationship with a girl. We're thinking about getting married." And he said, "The other night, I asked my mother, how would I know I was in love? And she gave me your book to read." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "That's for me." No, he said, "It was great." He said, "I really understand what love is." He said, "I didn't know what it was till I read your book." So I guess grief is love, because without love, there is no grief. You don't grieve for somebody you didn't love. So I guess I wrote a love story too. So I didn't realize it.
No, that's awesome. Now for the book itself, and I don't want to give away too much, but as I
Okay.
started reading, because I got through the first couple of chapters, but as the beginning, you talked about as far as that you did look at other books, but it just seemed more was like on the clinical trial side of things, where it was like, hey, step one, you should be doing this. Come day 30, you should be doing that.
Yeah.
With this book, like you really not so much talk about like, hey, hey, every day is going to get better. No, every day is just different. Can you elaborate more on that? Because a lot of people think, and even being told, whether somebody loses a spouse, whether they lose a parent, people are always saying, of course, the wrong things unless they've been through it, where they're saying like, hey, oh no, you're going to get so much better, or life's
Yeah.
going to get so much better than what you currently think it is right now. And it's not the case. We
Yeah.
have our good days and we have our bad days. Like, can
Yeah.
you jump into, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I started looking at you go online and there's a lot of, I mean, I found some good stuff. But most of it was, like you said, it was, I call it college professor clinical. When you're in college, a professor stood way up above you and looked down and he
Yeah.
knew everything and you knew nothing. Okay. And that's the way these books were. And I would be read some of them. I thought, this person's never lost somebody really close to them or grieved because they don't understand. It's different for everybody. I talked to 100 people now. It's different for everybody. You have to understand that first. Second thing I mentioned earlier, you cannot fix it. You can't fix it. I can't fix it for them. I can't fix it for myself. How can I fix it for someone else? I can learn to control it, and maybe I can help with what I do to teach them to control it, but it can't be fixed. So that's the whole, again, the premise in my book. I'm telling them my story. Now, you mentioned something. You go at the funeral home, right? You stand in that line and you go, what am I going to say when I get up there? Oh, he was a great guy when maybe he really wasn't. Uh, you
Right.
know, but so in my book, I put some things about what not to say, what to say. Please don't walk up and say, how are you doing? I must have said, okay, we have 450 people come through the visitation. Okay. I must have said, I'm okay about 300 times. That's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, how in the heck do you think I feel? My
Right.
wife's over here. She died. She's dead. I'm lonely. I'm confused. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm sad. But what did I say? Oh, I'm okay. Or I'm getting along fine. Um, uh, People, you can't, like I say, you can't fix it. So you can't come up and say things to fix it. Um, yeah, People said the weirdest things. One lady came, put her arm around me. I was 78 years old. My wife put her arm around me and said, Tom, you're only 78 years old. You'll find somebody to share your life with. I'm going, lady, what my wife's right here. Uh,
Right.
uh, so don't say that. Don't say, and this is always a good when people say, God needed her more up there than you needed her down here.
Wow.
I'm sorry, God's got a whole bunch of people up there. I just want one. I just want
Right.
her. I just want her. He can have all his people. I just wanted her. You know,
Yeah.
I always tell people, and I learned, I didn't know this before. I was guilty of saying all those other things. Um, but I always tell people, put your arm around them and say, I love you. End. That's it. When you say I love you, you say, I'm here for you. I'll do whatever you need. If you need, call. You say it all with I love you. I told somebody the other day, a gal, she lost her husband that played golf with him for years. And I told her that. And I told her, I said, remember these hugs. You won't remember what people said, but remember these hugs because you'll need them to get through the rest of the year, the next years. And I think about that a lot now. This holiday season, I'm kind of a hypocrite, okay? I tell people, I've got all this control and control a balloon, and it's been 3+ years. And I've been doing this with other people and been this big smile on my face and making jokes and doing all that stuff when we do the presentations and stuff. But this Christmas, for some reason, was tougher than the last couple, 2 or 3, and I don't know why. I guess I had family and Christmas Eve and all day Christmas and the whole thing, and everybody left about 7:30, 8 o'clock Christmas night, and all of a sudden I'm sitting here going, I had a tough time. with it. And that's when I was thinking, hey, you're a hypocrite. You're telling other people to control it. Now you're sitting there and you're crying and everything. But I mean, they were happy tears, and most of them, like, really thinking of the memories. That's the other thing I try to tell people. You feel guilty about what you didn't do and what you didn't say. But I finally said, wait a minute, we had 78 years. We didn't do a lot of things we want to do, but we did do a lot of things. So remember those things. So that's what I try to do. I try to remember the things we did do. I always tell a story. That things sneak up on you. Like I was fine Christmas until everybody left, and all of a sudden I was sitting here. It came to me. The tears just started to flow. I go along days, and all of a sudden, bang, something hits you. The first Thanksgiving, everybody always came to our house for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, because we had the bigger place. We have small family. So I'm and my son and his wife said, Dad, you just fix the turkey we're bringing. Everything else, don't worry about it. So I said, okay. So Thanksgiving Eve, I'm doing the turkey, right? And I'm stuffing it with the fruit and herbs and all that stuff that I do. I get ready to tie the legs, and I go like this, and I need a finger to hold that so I can tie the knot.
Right.
And she's not there. It was a standing joke. That's why because I would always say I need a finger. She'd come put the finger on, and I'd tie the knot, and she'd always say, who helped you with your Boy Scout knots when you got your Eagle Scout badge? We'd laugh. One year, I think I said, my wife was a brunette, but brown eyes. I think I said, it was a little blue-eyed blonde. And I think I got a dish rag to the side of the head, And so I'm sitting there. Now, if you'd have walked in my house, I'm crying and I'm laughing. You'd have probably gotten a jacket and taken me off to the funny farm, because you thought this guy,
right, like
he's standing there with a stupid turkey. He's standing there with a stupid turkey in his hand, crying and laughing. What's this all about? But those are the things that happen to you. I hear those stories from people now. But time, it doesn't go away. I've got ladies, men tell me 25 years, 20 years. One lady told me the other day, after an appearance, she came up afterwards and she said, thank you. She said, you helped me by letting me know that there's somebody else out there that understands and feels like I do. She said, I think of him every week. And she said, every once in a while, a little tear comes. And it's been 25 years since she lost him. So, so I know then it's not going to go away. It's going to change. She's, oh yeah, it's changed a lot. But she said it's never going away. It has not gone away, and it's not going away. So that's where we are,
No, and I think there's a lot of strength with that. And before I move on forward, where can folks actually find the book to purchase?
Online at www.thomaslrose.com.
Okay. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I hope maybe here now, like I say, I printed 200, and then I printed another 200, another 200. I didn't have a publisher. I got a publisher that's interested, so maybe he'll take it, and maybe the publisher take it. Maybe it'll end up on Amazon or wherever. But right now, just go to the website, and my phone number's there. My email address is there. If you feel like, if you want to talk, anybody out there, if you want to talk about your grief and you don't want somebody to talk to, my number's in there. Call me. I'd love to talk to you. So.
I love that, man. I love that. And that goes back to what I wanted to mention before, is the power, your power and strength. Like I said, some people, they deal with grief, and it could be just that one thing. I mean, thank God for my wife. She lost her father the early part of 2021. We just had a really bad snowstorm. Nobody should have been outside. Unfortunately, he was, and it slipped and fell. And for whatever reason, this Christmas, as the days were getting closer, it was just hitting her harder and harder. But she stayed positive throughout it all. And I think that, if you're looking back on memories, and if you're looking at the good, and you're able to laugh and cry, over some turkey, I think that shows a lot of power in, where you're headed to. Because some people just give up, they switch to medication, or
or booze.
Yeah. And, they try to find this outlet, and really the outlet is within themselves. The power is within themselves. And like I said, I've only gone across the first couple of chapters, but you talk about being different. And I think it's just being powerful, more powerful as the days go on, as time goes on. And you're right. It's not a fix. There's no off switch button that says like, oh, well, I'm done grieving now.
Yeah,
That was
no,
a good 2-year stretch. Now
so
I can move forward.
some people want to talk about like it's the flu, and it's
Yeah.
really bad flu, but you take the medicine and you'll be cured pretty soon. You won't have the flu anymore. No, I'm sorry, the grief's still going to be there. It's going to be, yeah. It's one of the things that I always like to do is I'm on kind of a grief committee at the church, and or we sit around and talk about. I do a lot of dinner parties. I have people around me that help me with my grief. I do dinner parties and I get conversations going, and I get different people together. The other night we had a dinner party. And one of my things, somebody started talking about the grief in my book and everything like that. And I said, what I always do is to get people to talk about the grief when we're in the grief committee is I'd say, tell me about your first date if it's a loss of a spouse. And because that first date's always a fun thing. It's always a pleasant memory. Sometimes it's a big laugh. Most of the ones but the first dates are really awkward, bad things happen. I don't know about you, but you can tell me in a minute about yours. But I get people telling me about their first date, and they always laugh and smile like you just did because you just thought you're thinking about you're thinking about your first date right now.
I lost my wallet. I drove from Philadelphia down to Maryland, and I had to ask her if she could cover the bill, and I would cash app her immediately. Thankfully, I didn't get a ticket going down, didn't get a ticket coming up. But yeah, it's all circling back like, yep, I lost the wallet. So
I love it. I love it. It's so funny when you said that because there's a gentleman in Texas. His name's Patrick. Does a podcast. His podcast is This Is My Moment. You might look it up.
Okay.
This is my moment. You look him up because you two guys should talk. But anyway, his story was the same. Basically, what he did was he was in the service in the Air Force and he had $30 in his pocket. So he takes her out thinking, she won't order the most expensive thing on the menu. So she orders the most expensive thing on the menu. He's in a panic, So you guys would have fun stories to share that way.
Man,
yeah. But yeah, everybody's. I ask about weddings too. Tell me about your wedding, and the one couple guy told me, he said, well, he lost his wife, and he said at our wedding, he said, I went to put the ring on her finger, and we dropped it, and we both bent over to pick it up and cracked heads, and we hit our heads so far about knocked her out. She had to sit down. The priest had to stop the wedding, and she had to sit down for a few minutes to regain everything. He said, wasn't funny then, but he said now it's funny. We said every anniversary, he said our friends got to bring it all up because they were all there, and they didn't know it. Now it's funny. It was funny afterwards in the reception, but he said it wasn't funny at the time. So anyway, I get stories like that all the time. So that's great.
I love that. And, from your travels, because we talked, for quite a while, prior to us getting on the show, what has been like your favorite place to, I guess, speak at? Because, you told me about you being in prisons, talking to, women's centers, talking to, hundreds of people to very small groups.
Right.
Out of all of them, since, going out there and doing speaking, what has been your favorite?
I don't know why I can say my most favorite because they're all wonderful, but I think my most interesting, was going to the jail. I was sitting here at my desk and one day, and I got a phone call. It was a young gal, could tell by the voice, She introduced herself as a deputy at the Kosciuszko County Jail, which is a county south of us here, Okay. And she said, Mr. Rose, she said, I would like you to come speak to my group. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Do you understand that I wrote a book on grief? She said, yes, I do. She said, I have a drug rehabilitation group. She said, it's 12 men. They live in a unit. They've been convicted of drugs. She said, they get this opportunity for education. So she said, they're in this unit together. She said, we have classes every day. I have people coming in, teaching classes, doing all this stuff. I said, okay. She said, well, you must understand that about 90% of the people on drugs are there because of some kind of grief. Something's pushed them over the edge. You know, they've lost a parent, they lost a friend, they've lost a wife, a child, whatever. And so I go, and she said, well, here's how I like to do it. She said, I'd like you to speak first, then I'm going to give them your book. Their assignment will to read your book, read the book, and then you will come back, and their assignment will be to ask you questions. I said, okay, so I go down. Now I'm thinking, these guys are going to sit there and look at the ceiling, drum their thing because they got to sit there.
Right,
They
like,
were,
gotta sit through
yeah,
this.
yeah, they're glued on me, and I'm going. Each time I do this, I change it. Things happen that I look at people and see kind of directions to go. My son's standing over here, and he always introduces me, and he always does something when he introduces me that I didn't expect, and I usually do something in the presentation that he doesn't expect. So anyhow, so I do this, and I talk to them, and I go back, and they ask me the most intelligent, intellectual questions that I've had. And I finally looked at him, I'm going, what the heck are you guys doing here? Those are the most intellectual, intelligent questions. What are you doing in jail?
Right.
And all of them kind of hung their heads and said, well, we screwed up, Mr. Rose. Now I get ready to leave. It's in, again, the first one was in August, and it was hot. The car's out in the parking lot. I get out there. As I get, oh, excuse me, first I'm getting too far ahead here. As I get ready to leave, they all walk up to me, and I think they're going to shake my hand. All 12 of them give me a big hug and said, thank you for coming. Now, I already got to me. So I get out to my car. I'm crying. I got tears sitting in my car with my window rolled down because it's hot. So the poor lady walks by. She looks at me. I got tears running down my face. She says, excuse me, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. But it got to me. So that's what I say the most interesting. Interesting to me also is I spoke at a church up here. Several churches, but people about 3/4 of the way through the program, I always ask if there are any questions. And most of the time you may get one or something. But immediately when I'm done, I got 12 people or 15 people lined up want to talk to me. Everybody wants to talk to you one-on-one. They don't want to share what they want to ask with everybody. They want just you, which is, again, interesting to me. And I get the weirdest, not the weirdest, the most interesting. The one young man at the prison, when I went back for the second time, he said, when it came to his turn, he said, Mr. Rose, he said, I have a question. He said, my father died, and I'm not grieving. I looked at him and I said, did you love your father? He said, no, he beat us. You know, he beat my mom. He said, we tried to protect her, all this kind of stuff. I said, then don't worry about it. I said, grief is love and love is grief. But you didn't love your father. You can't grieve for him if you didn't love him. That's his fault, not yours. Don't you burden yourself. Don't you sit here and think, oh my God, I'm a terrible son because I didn't grieve for my father. No, you're not. You know, I said, how about you? Oh yeah. He said, I still cry over my mother. I said, just let it go. Live with it. Let it go. Don't worry about not grieving for your father. So those are the interest. Like I say, those are the interesting things that we get.
And just, you know, I'm hoping people take that, because there's those that, you know, they didn't even have maybe the greatest relationship. Maybe it wasn't abusive. Maybe it was just,
Yeah.
you know, not communicative.
Right.
Maybe the two had lived in different areas, whether it be father and son, father and daughter, mother and son,
Yeah.
have you. But between that parent and child, you know, they may have had a strained relationship. And I'm hoping people, while they're listening, while they're, you know, watching this, whether you're watching or listening, hearing that and saying to themselves, you know, I'm free from that. Because a lot of people do, like, they hold on to this regret, you know, whether it be 5-10 years ago, and it's like, well, they did this in the relationship, or they did that, and, you know, it's just so much hatred, and it's like, well, let that hatred go.
Yeah.
Because if there's no love there,
Right.
you know, and you talk about it, I believe, in this either the end of the first chapter or the beginning of the second chapter, but you talk about how that grief is love, and it's unconditional love. You know, to be more specific, I want folks to realize, like, when you are grieving, it is unconditional love that you're sharing back with that person.
Yeah.
Not just Not just, hey, I missed them. Oh, it's their birthday. I guess I
Yeah.
gotta do that. No, it's that constant, like, the joy. You're just thinking of different memories, that both of y'all had shared. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
I pointed out in the book that in the Bible there's like 5 kinds of love, and one of them is called pragma. And pragma is what you just said, an unconditional, continuing love.
Mhm.
Now you're a young man and you just got married and you're going to go through this because your love's going to grow, but it's going to have little bumps. Okay. And by those bumps, I mean, you're going to leave the cap off the toothpaste in the bathroom and she's going to yell at you about doing
And
that.
my eye twitch is gonna go, and I'm like,
Yeah. And so that love is going to be interrupted. You don't love each other right then when you're yelling at each other.
I
Okay.
I always tell her I love you more. She's like, I'm putting this out there. She's getting upset with me this morning, Tom. This morning, she's upset with me because I lost her socks. Now I did laundry yesterday, and I'm going through, and she's like, "Well, you got to help me find these socks." And I'm like, "That I don't know where you put the socks." And she was like, I swore I wore them last week. So you must have lost them." Sure enough, she moved some socks around in the drawer because she's got like 40 million of them.
Yeah.
She moved some socks around in the drawer, Tom, and she's looking down. She's like, "Oh, they're right here. I never
Yeah.
did wear them. I'm
You,
so sorry." I'm like,
yeah.
I love you more. Love you more because of that. So
That's right.
as
That's
long
right.
as I
That's good.
continuously say that, it's like I'm
That's good.
building upon this unconditional love and pragmatism. So
Yeah. The commercial now with the red flag and the instant review.
yes,
Like they go,
yep. Like, let's
that's
run
what you
this
need.
right
You need
back.
one of those.
I'm gonna put a stenographer in our room so I could go
Yeah.
back all the time. But like, could you read back those last 2 paragraphs on such and such
That's
date?
right.
So,
That's right. But I'll tell you. Okay, so my wife died 3.5 years ago, and I'll tell you today, I love her more than I did 4 years ago and 5 years ago. Now it seems strange to say it that way, but I do, because we haven't had those little blips. And I didn't leave my clothes lay on the floor in the bathroom, or the towel, or the wet towel, or whatever. And she didn't yell at me about it. So, that love has grown. We spent 3 weeks in hospice before she died. Okay. She got to the place where we were in the hospital and they couldn't, they were trying to say, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And plan A, plan B, plan C, it's not going to work. This is not going to work. She finally said, time out. She said, I want to go to hospice. It's my time. They told me 4 to 6 months, 2 years ago. I guess it's time. And I said, okay. So she goes into hospice. Now, she was there 3 weeks. She had nothing to eat or anything for 3 weeks. They don't, just water. So Beth, she died on a Monday. The Thursday before she died, I came back. I stayed 24/7, but my kids would come and relieve me about 4 o'clock after they got off work, and stay with Joyce. And I would come home, shower, get something to eat, go back about 8 o'clock, and stay all night, of course, and all the next day. So anyway, I went back this Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. She was very lucid, talking, and she explained to me that there was a green bag in the closet, and that's what she wanted at the funeral home. She didn't want anything else. When I looked in the green bag, I found it was a couple of our cookbooks and articles about us, what we'd done together. I didn't know it was there until she told me. Anyway, so she's holding my hand. We're talking about the family and everything like that. Now, I think you probably already learned this, but women cannot do a sentence without a command at the end. By that, I mean, so she says to me, she says, holding my hand, she said, I love you, comma, I'll see you in church. Now, I got to go to church because that's the last thing she told me. She could have left it with, I love you,
yep,
but just done, but now I got to go to church. And our priest knows she said that. So he always comes by and taps me on the shoulder and says, she knows you're here. Or where were you last week? She knows you weren't here. Well, Father, I went on, So anyway, so but see, that's a fun memory to me.
Yeah.
You would think the last things would not be, but it is to me now. when I think about, I go to church and I think, you know, I'm Catholic, in the mass when we say the Our Father, we hold hands. So we used to before COVID anyway, and now I feel her when that comes. I feel her take my hand. And so it's a pleasant, again, it's a pleasant thing for me. It's not a downer, that's an upper, you know. And some people would say, well, I said, no, don't cry over that. Don't cry for me over that, you know. I had an interesting experience. I went my local restaurant bar. I was sitting at the bar, and there was a young couple sitting behind me, and I knew them. I knew one couple there. And I hear the gal say, that's Tom Rose up there. He just lost his wife a short time ago, and I really feel sorry for him. And I heard that. I got ready to leave, and I turned around. I went over their table, and I said, excuse me, but don't feel sorry for me, because I had that love. I've had it. You enjoy yours. Don't feel sorry for me. I have 58 years. Hope that you have 58 years like I had. Because if not, I'm going to feel sorry for you.
Right.
So
Exactly.
again, that's the same type of thing. You know, that's just the way I take it. That's just who I am now. So, and biggest thing is I've changed. I'm not completely different. I wasn't a bad guy before, but I wasn't the best I could be. Okay. I learned a lot. I think that's what God did to me, and she did to me that 3 weeks in hospice, you know, stay laying there, holding her. I couldn't read. I tried to, you know, I'm just there. And I think I thought about a lot of things then. A lot of things went through my brain, and since then have. So, you know, I think, and I've talked to other people that are in a better place personally, mentally than they were before it happened, because they've had to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
So
No, that's great, man. And one other thing I do want to deep dive into as well on the show is about your YouTube channel, about the cooking show that you and your family share. So can you talk a little bit more about that? First and foremost, the channel itself, and what you do on the show.
Sure. Well, you know, we talked about, my wife and I did on Fox TV for a number of years.
Yeah.
Actually 13 years, and never missed an episode in 13 years. You got to think about that a little bit. But after she died, I believe it was my granddaughter, because my granddaughter had gone on the show a couple of times, but it's when she was a little kid and stuff. And she said, man, I'd like to do something like that again. She said, you know, we could do a YouTube thing. So my son said, yeah, that'd be good. So I said, well, okay, I'm in, you know, let's do it. So we did. So what we do is right here in my kitchen, we just do whatever we decide we want to do, we do. There's no editing. If we screw up, we screw up, and we have. And if we drop something, we drop it. You know, if we don't pronounce things right, we don't go back. You know, it's fun. And it's just on YouTube. We just put it up. Well, it's on our website. You mentioned www.cookingtogether.com. They can go there and see all the videos. I know we've done maybe, I don't know, 65 or 70 now. And we just pick different things. We have fun things like, well, my granddaughter's husband is the cameraman.
Okay.
And we just did every once in a while, he does a cameraman challenge, where he brings a basket and gives us the basket, and whatever's in it, we have to create recipes from it.
Oh,
the last one was frozen waffles, which I did a couple of weeks ago. So we had a box of frozen waffles, so we had to create some dishes with those. He brought a chicken from the supermarket.
okay.
And we had to do something with that. So he kind of gives it to us, and then we shut the camera off for a few minutes, and the three of us run around, and we always have to do something different. So then we have a little contest at the end, and he picks which is the best one. Of course, he always picks his wife, because he has to go home with her. I understand that. You know?
Like, honey, you did great today.
That's right.
Always doing great.
That's right. That's right. So, but it's just fun. It's just fun. It's great for me. I think they're having fun with it. But hey, for old dad, it's really good. It's great. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, Tom, I really appreciate having you here on the show, man. I need folks to go to thomaslrose.com,
right.
purchase that book, even if it's not for you, buy it so in turn you can give to someone else.
I got people doing that, sending them as sympathy cards. They got right on the inside of the front cover and kind of sympathy cards.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Well, I'm looking forward to definitely having you back on the show.
Okay.
2023. I know we're like near, we got 3 more days left of this amazing year. But yeah, definitely looking for, prosperity for both of us, man.
Okay.
So
I'm writing a novel, so you can have me back on with my novel stuff.
Yes.
See, now I think I'm a writer. I did this and I think I'm a writer.
No, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. Yeah, please keep me posted and would love to have you come back on the show.
The titles, The Secret is in the Pasta.
Ooh,
it's a murder mystery. It takes place in an Italian restaurant. I won't tell you anymore.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll leave it up to Netflix after that then.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Tom, thank you again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to the RNG Radio Show. Be sure to like and subscribe for more episodes and future content. If you'd like to learn more, visit us at danielumstead.com. Stay blessed, my fellow millionaires.